Welcome to the Renegade Politics Podcast, where you'll understand politics from an expert perspective. On the web at renegadepoliticspodcast.com.
Media is going to be the most difficult thing I talk about here on this podcast because it's something that is so particular to your background. And as I've said before, I'm a Republican. I've always been a Republican. And I'm trying to make this not a partisan thing. It's going to be very difficult not to do that in this particular podcast because of the fact that media is just done differently by different parties. One of the things I will do in the future is do a third-party media because I think that the hierarchy goes Democrat, Republican, third party. And what I mean by that is the lower you go, the more desperate you have to be in order to get media. So I hope I didn't offend anybody. I don't really care if I did, but that's not my intent. I'm not trying to offend anyone or get anyone upset because of what I just said. Like it's easier to be a Democrat. But it is. It is. And I only say that, I'm not saying that to attack Democrats. I'm saying that because, and this happens a lot, if you're a Republican, you'd better do something more aggressively, more persuasive, more interesting, more everything than a Democrat, or you're not going to get the same media. And even then, you're probably not. So I'll get this started by saying the educational side of things, and that's there are two kinds of media. There is the paid media, and there's the earned media. The paid media is when you do a commercial, and you put it together, and you put it on the radio. The earned media is when you earn the coverage. You do something that gets the media's attention. This will be primarily focused, actually entirely focused on earned media. So I want to make that point because I will cover the paid media in another podcast. I keep saying that, right? Drives everybody crazy, whoever's listening. But this is earned media, so I guess I should have said earned media. So let's move on. The biggest problem, the thing is, as they say, how do you talk to the media? This is the most basic question never asked by a candidate. And it's very important. I'll tell you how to handle, from a mechanical standpoint, what happens when you pull papers, file for office, and you get that call. And the call could be all kinds of things. It's probably a friendly call, but there are two methods to handle the media. And I believe this is from the most very basic person running for the most boring position all the way up to someone running for president of the United States. There are two kinds. There's the I'll call you right back method, and there's the off the record approach. Let me get into both of them. The I'll call you right back method is the preferable method. I'm actually the other. But it's the preferable method is the I'll call you back in a minute or whenever. There's a few things you have to ask. The reporter calls you. What is the story about? What is your deadline? What are you looking for from me? And can I call you right back? There's a reason why you do that. Too many people don't ask what the story's about. And that's where you get in big trouble. And I don't want to waste too much time on that. But that's very important. You need to know what is the story about. Well, it's about your arrest for drunk driving 3 years ago. Boy, I bet you wish you knew that before you opened your mouth, don't you? But you have to ask these questions. What is the story about? What are you doing the story about? Oh, it's just an introduction for all the candidates. Fantastic. Now you know it's going to be for all the candidates. Or, oh, I'm just going to do something on you because you were in some organization last year, the board member of the whatever club. You want to know what the story's about. You want to know the deadline because you want to know when you can call them back. These people are on a deadline. There's things they do at certain times. I was a morning talk show host. So if you called me, now, and I was a little weird because I do my prep at night. Many of these guys wake up at 2 in the morning. I don't know how they do that. But I had to be on the air at 6 a.m. So I do my show prep at night, and in the morning, I probably woke up at 5, and I'd race into the studio. I get there at 5:20 or something because I live close. And, two different, whatever. So I'd get to the studio, and then I'd kind of just look and see anything happen. Anything happen overnight? Usually not. That's what I did. So you want to figure out their routine. You don't want to dig like I just told you and ask them when they go to bed and when they do show, or whatever. But you need to know when their deadline is. When is it? Because if they want to get something out in the next 30 minutes, you better call them in 5 minutes. You could say, hey, can I have 2 minutes? What are you looking for from me? They're going to say something like, well, I want your reaction to the new law that was just passed that banned guns. Oh, okay, well, now you know. But if you just started talking and yapping, then you're not going to volunteer that. And I'm telling you, this may sound to some people strange or stupid, but I've seen this so many times. These people start talking. They have no idea what the story is. The story comes out the next day. It has nothing to do with what they thought it was. And they just cherry pick your comments and fill them in. Let's say, for the sake of argument, the story is on guns in schools. And the reporter just started asking about schools. Hey, what do you think of the school system? What do you think of what do you think of that? You say something that's just inappropriate, not knowing it's about guns in schools. Like you say something like, well, yeah, in my days, we just walked home. What do we need? What do we need all this stuff for? All these security guards and all that. You see what I mean? You see where I'm going with that? The call you write back is so you can collect yourself and have something prepared. Unless you're really good and you're not listening to this podcast, you better write some things down. Go and research, get advice, prepare information, and call back. And I'll tell you something. This is the most important thing that I learned in media. And that is just give a couple sentences. I know you want to do a paragraph. I know you want to talk for 5 minutes. And they'll listen to you for 5, 10, 20, 30 minutes, possibly. But just a couple sentences that you want to see in the newspaper, leave it at that, and you'll probably see those couple of sentences. I wish I could just repeat what I just said for the next 20 minutes, because that probably is the most important thing, the most important takeaway from this. Don't tell them more than you need to. They'll save that. They'll use it against you. Not a good idea. Okay, the second approach, that's the I'll call you back method. Second one is the off-the-record approach. First of all, I'll say I once got lectured by a friendly reporter in the Washington, D.C. area about the difference between background and off the record. I still don't have any idea. I'll just be truthful. I didn't go to journalism school. I don't remember. Off the record is you don't want it to be cited, and background is information. I don't know. I don't care. Say off the record. If they start lecturing to you, say thank you for the lecture, and then, be nice. So my experience, I'm going to tell you my personal story experience. When I got into politics, I was kind of hanging out with another person. I was pretty young. And I would listen and I would hear, but I don't know what I did for work that I was able to do that. Well, anyway, I was during the day. And it was the Republican Party headquarters. And I wasn't a big fan of these guys there. But I did learn a lot from how the executive director worked. Here's how and I'm not making this up. You would be amazed what this guy did. We had a Republican governor. He was pretty plugged in. This was not a Yahoo place. He would call and say, on the record, we're very pleased that this event happened the way it did. Now, off the record, we're not sure why Jim Jones showed up at the event. Now, back on the record, we're happy that the governor was able to connect with constituents. So he'd do this. I would listen to this, and it was just bizarre. Now, this may be not I can't imagine this is still going on. But he did this. This is 20 years ago. And what you'd see in the paper is when he's on the record, it would be him on the record, obviously, said blank blank, the ED of the party. But then it would say, GOP source said he doesn't know why this guy showed up at the event. And it was really just him. He would be the Republican source and the on-the-record guy, which is a little like playing both your team and then going over and coaching the team you're playing against, right? Sort of feels that way, but this actually happened. This is what this guy did. And in a way, it was kind of offensive and dumb, but in a way, it was brilliant. So the off-the-record approach, don't do that. But the most important thing about the off-the-record approach is you want to be friendly to reporters. They're nice people. They're working. They're not making all that much money. They're on the clock. I know this is fun for you, but this is their job. So try to be nice. Try to give them what they want. Try to build a rapport with them so they know where you're coming from. And then be brief on the record. Just say, hey, what is this about? Oh, it's about the new, construction project. Can I just be off the record and not quote me on this? So here's this thing came up real quick and they forced a vote and they jammed it down our throats and blah, 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 blah. And then say, can I go on the record now? Just make sure that's all off the record. So here's what I'll say on the record. Okay. And then they're going to go, oh, okay. And you're going to hear like keyboards or whatever going, writing or whatever. Say on the record, I'll say this. I'm pleased that the construction project passed, but not pleased in the way it was passed. And now if I could just go back off the record, if that's okay with you, that's what you do. Now that may frustrate towny, local kind of podunkish sort of people, but I don't know. I think you just treat everybody the same, personally. You might get something, well, we don't do that around here. We don't do this on the record. I don't know who you think you're talking to. Well, that's fine. He can do and say whatever he wants to say. But the reality is you are doing it right now. So if you work for the Podunk, Alabama, Attackham, Alabama, my family's actually from the Podunk area in the South or whatever, or wherever, actually west, then I would just be polite and firm with these guys. Because you're going to get attacked by people. In media, it's no different. These are people, they breathe, they sleep, they eat, they have opinions. It's okay. Treat them with respect and just hope that they give you respect back. That's all you can do. And I mean that, sincerely, I really do. Some of these people, I've watched some of these guys grow to pretty powerful positions from when I worked with them, and they were pretty fair to me. Some of these guys high up in some of these big anyway, okay, I don't want to get into me. Don't be afraid of the awkward silence, whether you're doing whatever approach you're using. Don't be afraid of the awkward silence. It's okay. They're probably writing or typing. But the point I'm making through all this, and I don't know if you picked it up, but the point is the reason for both methods, the I'll call you back method and the let's go off the record method, is to give them on the record as little information as possible. Not because you want to hide something, but you want to control as much as possible what gets put in that newspaper. So if you talk for 10 minutes about your background, and then you tell a stupid story about the time your friend Freddie stole a pack of gum at the laundromat, you better believe the thing that's going to be in there is the story about you and your friend Freddie who stole the pack of gum, and none of the information about you is going to be in there. Do you see how that works? And that's how that works. And it might just be because they're bored. These guys are bored. They don't want to hear about your GPA in college. They don't want to hear about how many times you've been promoted or all this nonsense. This is not a job interview. Technically, it's not. This is a media guy. This is a media reporter. They don't want to hear this stuff. Voters don't either, but that's another story. Don't babble. There's kind of a rhythm to this if it's done right. But never go cold and jump in. Never don't have something prepared to say, either in your mind if you're good at it and do the off the record, or write it down and call them right back. And that's what I have to say about that. There's that. My way, personally, of handling media, and I'll tell a story about something happened to me when I was a communications director for a high-profile campaign, statewide campaign. And I was kind of thrust into this position where we sent out a press release about something. And we were in the newspaper. It's a major market. It's a top 10 market. Well, I'll say 15, just because I don't want you to figure out where I was. Okay, it's top 10. So I said to them, it was a long time ago. I said to a reporter, he said, well, I'd love to get you on. Can you go on camera? And I said, yeah, that's fine. He said, where can I go? Come to my office. I'm working in real estate. So come to my office. Okay, fine. Then someone else called. This is all true. Every single bit of this is true. And said, hey, I hear you're going to be on camera for whoever. Can we be there too? Okay, sure. Before you know it, I had I'm thinking in my mind, I have a memory here, 2, 4, 6, I don't know, maybe 12 to 15 people in a semicircle around on the street in front of my office. The AP reporter, who is pregnant, starts yelling at me about why I made her walk all the way from where they typically go. After that hostile conversation, which, I had nothing to do with it. They were asking to show up. I said, come to my office. She starts yelling at me. I didn't mean for her to walk. I'm sorry, but the thing is, this is the thing you need to know about media. They all have to be there if you're going to be available because they want whatever the story is. See how that works? So she was probably right. I wasn't mean. You got to be nice, but so she's yelling at me for 10 minutes, and then finally, the story is, why is your so there was a signature gathering. This happens a lot. Candidate trying to get on the ballot. Hey, we found some bagged signatures in there. The story is, maybe your candidate, is he making those up? I had about a quarter of a second to answer because that was not what was expected. That was not what I prepared to talk about. So I said, well, if the Democrats would rather have it that I didn't say it that. I said my grandfather signs things for my grandmother. If the Democrats want to go and chase down old men and old women and arrest them for election fraud because they're signing for their spouse, then let them go and do that. When I was 29, it was my first job, and pretty good, huh? That was okay for a quarter second, right? You have to have something there. My way of handling media, and I've seen this done different ways. I couldn't even possibly go into it with the 15 minutes I have left. Maybe I will in another podcast. It's my thing. I'll just press a button that says, I will in another podcast. My way of handling media is pretty simple. I have a set of beliefs, and I run everything through this set. And my brain fires pretty quickly. So I think of the Constitution. I'm a Christian, so I run things through the Bible and the Constitution. I know it's probably just offended half the people listening, right? If it doesn't make sense through the Constitution, and you know what? And the two are different. So actually, I shouldn't even say that. I run things in politics just through the Constitution. If it's constitutional, then I'm all for it. If it's for freedom, I'm all for it. If it stops some kind of freedom or impedes, if it's bad for freedom, I'm down on it. And I can recognize this stuff pretty quickly for being in it for a long time. So my advice to you is, whatever your beliefs are, just make sure that what comes out of your mouth makes sense with what your beliefs are, right? And if you do that, then every question becomes pretty easy to answer. So, okay, the next thing, what are you going to get as a candidate? Like, you may be thinking, okay, this is great, hear this story about you and doing all this high-profile stuff in TV. There's no TV here. I'm running for dog catcher. What am I going to get? What's going to happen with me? You're probably going to get an editorial board sit down, even if it's one guy. And it's probably going to be all the candidates in a room, and they're just going to go around the circle. And that's to make their life easier, so everyone's on point and doing their own thing or whatever. You're probably going to get an intro piece, which they may just write from your press release. And we'll have to go over press releases some other time. But you do your intro piece from a press release. They might do like a little short piece about you. And that's probably all you're really going to get, in quotes. Everything else you have to make happen if you want it. You don't need it to win. There are plenty of candidates who don't do well in media but still win in earned media. And that's a long conversation too. But if you want that earned media, true earned media, because you didn't really earn the intro piece or the editorial board, that's coming anyway. If you want that earned media, your job is to do the opposite of what the other people are doing. You use your time with media to promote why you are different. You promote the differences from your opponents or opponent or whatever. You can highlight your job performance by using it to do like a contrast. As an accountant, I will do what my opponent, a career politician, does not do, and that is finally audit the government's finances. There you go. So the media asked you what you did for work. So what do you do for work? Now, you want to say, I've been an accountant for 15 years, and I have prepared 1,000 tax returns a year, and Very happy here in the community. Next question? Well, that's great. You just bored everybody. Let's try it a little differently. So what do you do for work? Well, I'm an accountant, and as an accountant, I'm going to do what my opponent doesn't do, and that is audit the state government, or audit the government's finances. He's never done it. I will. There you go. Now, please do not put accountant on all your campaign signs. Don't make that your thing. Don't go to the extreme. People do that too. That's just goofy. You look like an idiot doing that. Then people are thinking, well, okay, I guess accountant. Okay, we'll just vote for accountants. How about, as a garbage man, I've done what my opponent, an attorney, and other career politicians have never done, and that's work an honest day for an honest wage. There you go. How's that? As a bus driver, I have to be somewhere. I have to do a job, and I'm held accountable. My opponent is not held accountable. He does whatever he wants to do. See how that works? Use whatever time you have to promote the contrast, the difference, and make it positive for you. I talked a little bit about baggage in the intro podcast, and I'll put some of that here. I have a very strong belief that if you have some kind of a troubled past, it might be better than what the other side would make up about you. Now, expect something to be made up about you if there's something bad is going to be written about you. I can promise you that, if you have any chance of winning. So it can either be something that really happened or it can be made up. So if you got arrested when you were 14 for, I don't know, vandalizing, that may be better to talk about than if they made up that you sexually harassed your secretary last year. You see where I'm going with this? I know it sounds crazy to say something like, have an anonymous person slip the arrest record under the, in an envelope to the member of the media, so they ask you about that. It's that may be a little crazy in cloak and dagger, but by the way, that happens. But I will tell you, it may be better than what they make up about you. They're going to make something up. Truth doesn't matter anymore. Truth and information are not the same thing. This is where I start to get partisan, but I'm going to do it. I don't care, because it's true. There are two important kinds of people who consume media, the majority of people. Two important kinds of people who consume media. That means reading stuff, listening to stuff, whatever. The first is the person who's already made up their mind, and the second is the uninformed. So the two important kinds of people you're trying to reach through media. The person who's already made up their mind, they're only looking to discredit one party, and all they're looking for from the media is ammunition to do that, to tell friends, it doesn't matter if it's true. It doesn't matter. They don't care. They literally don't care. Their purpose is not to spread information. It's to spread discredit or to spread hate or to spread, don't vote for this guy because we hate him. And if they are presented with a truth argument, the response is usually something along, if you have Facebook, are you kidding me? This person, blah, 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 and then lie. It doesn't matter. It's just whoever yells the loudest. They don't care about truth. They want effective lies that they can use to argue and discredit their opponent with, or embarrass their opponent. The key here is that all liars are on the same page, because then it seems more believable to that second set of media consumers, the uninformed. If everybody's saying it, the uninformed is going to look at that and go, oh, this has got to be true. I mean, every single newspaper has written this. It's got to be true. Something happened there. It doesn't matter if it's true or not. Truth is whatever is reported the most. How's that? Scratch out truth in your dictionary and write whatever is reported in the media most. The uninformed will lock into whatever's presented in such a way to seem believable. I'm not attacking this group of people, by the way. The uninformed just are busy doing other things, paying taxes, working, they don't care. They'll just kind of glance at something, oh, well, that seems believable. Yeah, I bet he did that. I bet he stole that money. Yep. Truth doesn't matter because they don't know the truth. They don't have time to figure it out. So they look for credible sources and they just follow along with the credible sources. That's how that works. And truth is fine. I'm not telling you to lie, and you shouldn't lie. You should not lie. What I'm saying is expect to be lied about. and be prepared. I saw a story on CNN where it mislabeled the Virginia governor that did the, what did he do, a KKK hat or something on? I don't follow this stuff, really. He's a Democrat. The CNN story mislabeled him as a Republican. You think that was an accident? 30,000 people now think this guy's a Republican and that Republicans are doing that? You think they just made a mistake, huh? How to earn media. Moving right along. It's hard. The mechanics are press release, a tweet. You can do a media advisory. You can stand there and say, I'm going to be speaking at an event. And you can ask them to show up. They might not. They might. Try writing a letter to a prominent person and then publicize it. That's a good. I wrote a letter to the mayor, and here's the letter. And then you send it to the media. Here's the letter I sent to the mayor. Then they call the mayor up and say, hey, did you get that letter from candidate? There's an art to the press release and to all this. Here's what you can do in a press release. 3 things. You can position yourself as an expert. You can kind of hammer away at the opposition and hope that something is interesting to the media after sending 45 press releases. Or you can weigh in on issues of the day, but you better be timely. Something happens, you jump on it, send a press release. Send a press release in the morning. It's Donald Trump's wall. I support it fully. Here's why. And then the idea is they come and say, a candidate for city council supports Donald Trump's wall. And don't be surprised if they call and say, hey, can I get you on camera or can I get you on audio? Here's some ideas, okay, on how to get that attention. Be provocative. You've got to walk that line. The more provocative you are, the more chance of coverage. But the more provocative you are, the more chance of being lied about or attacked. It's safer to be in the form of a question. Do you think this guy is stealing money? A lot safer than this guy's stealing money for many different reasons. Think of what the media needs from you, what the media wants from you. And that's not a lecture, believe me. A well-placed, provocative statement or question, and they'll do the story, and you will be the lead on it. If you're a Republican, try attacking other Republicans. They love that. Actually worked for Trump. Kind of got away from them, but that's another story. You can do a poll and publicize it. Phone polls, I talked about that in another. I'll do something on that too. Phone polls at $200. You can do a phone poll and publicize. Hey, the poll said that everybody hates my opponent. 46% think he's a dummy. Use the other party's popularity. Challenge the other party to a debate somewhere. There you go. Now it's newsworthy. You might not be newsworthy. This works for third parties pretty well. Issue a statement that's bigger than the campaign. Obviously, you're running for city council. Start talking about immigration. You'll probably get in the media a lot easier than talking about moving the stoplight 200 feet down the road. You're not going to get in the media with that. You've probably figured that out already. Social media, spreading your message, getting media out socially. Social media. Facebook's a good way to reach voters if you pay, but you're not going to get any attention from it. Reporters are all on Twitter, but unless you're running for Congress or Senate, it's really hard to get them to do anything on there. They're on there, I don't know, bragging about what they wrote, whatever. I don't know what they're doing on there. But they're all on there. Mitigating damage in the media. Once I avoided a debate that I knew someone was going to attack me and smear me, I got more media by avoiding the debate. The headline in the TV was, my name didn't show up at the debate. Here's why. And then I put a statement. And they actually put the statement on the screen. I'm not showing up at the debate because of this and this. And here's my message. Thank you. Have a nice day. And after 30 seconds of talking about me, then they started talking about the incumbent and then all the other people who were there at the debate. Now, if I was at the debate, what would have happened to me? I would have been buried. But because I took a chance on something different, a different approach, it worked out for me. And sometimes you just have to trust yourself. 2 things I want to tell you before I let you go. One is how to get media contacts. Best thing to do, copy and paste emails from reporters that regularly cover the area or the race or politics. You can buy these things, but usually a waste of money. And then just send an email. That's what a press release is now. It's an email. There's a format to it, but we'll get into that some other time. The second thing is when you go off record, now some reporters may say, why do you want to go off record? Well, you just go on record. Well, look, the answer to that is this. I don't want to trip over my words. I don't want to say something accidentally stupid, sounds stupid. this is my first time, whatever, new to this, whatever you have to say. I just want to speak freely. I want to be able to speak freely without being worried you'll copy down something that I didn't mean to say because I'm tripping over my words. See how that works? Just be nice, be honest. Renegade Politics Podcast at gmail.com.